again. Today I'm going to read a story. I'm going to throw caution to the winds. I wasn't sure if I should really read this story. I thought it was interesting, but then I'm so self-obsessed that I would think it was interesting, wouldn't I? It's just that it's a little bit personal and contemporary. And although I don't name anybody by their real names, I suppose it could be seen as derogatory in some way, although it's not meant as that. It's meant to express what it feels, the experience of being somebody who finds it hard to make themselves understood. For many years I never understood what it was in me that made this happen, but nowadays I assume it's because I'm slightly autistic or Asperger's, that I just have this difficulty with verbal communication, which is why I write things, because when you have time you can consider things in your head and you can arrange the words properly. And so this is what it's really about. It's about the internal experience. It's not about other people. So please don't take it as trying to get your own back on someone, because that's not what it's about at all. And so here we go. The problem with social media. So we were invited to lunch at Leona and Den's last week. We had a pleasant time, so I thought, chatting about this and that. At one point, I did sense that Leona was overreacting to my revelation of my current quest to discover opposite points of view via the internet, amongst other things. I do know that all right-thinking, liberal-minded, middle-class do-gooders automatically despise Donald Trump and all he stands for. I have, of course, spent the last 3 years despising him myself. I just thought it might be a good idea to find out why nearly 50% of Americans voted for him and why they still think he's the bee's knees. So I was telling her about the hashtag walkaway movement, which I had discovered on YouTube. It's a bunch of Democrat supporters who have decided to turn from the Democratic Party and support the Republican campaign instead. I never really understood the difference between Republicans and Democrats, and I had found it quite illuminating. She looked at me with increasing horror over her cup of chamomile and lemon verbena tea and asked me how I had come across such videos, since all the videos YouTube feeds her, apparently, are about cats or embroidery or something. Any neurotypical person would at this point have stopped talking and made a joke of it, but I was far too involved in my train of thought and in getting it across with my limited verbal abilities. So I ploughed on, trying to explain the process whereby you find interesting videos by watching edgy stuff about trans issues or cancel culture, and one thing simply leads to another. I don't recall how that particular section of conversation ended. I didn't think any more of it. However, 2 days later, I'm reading Den's latest entry on his Facebook feed, and it appears to me that he's parroting Leona's version of what I tried to explain to her, and making me out to be a deluded idiot from beyond the pale. He uses crude and contemptuous language. He doesn't mention me by name, of course, but he mentions Trump and YouTube. And if he has come across somebody else in the last 2 days who rouses his ire on these topics, then he does keep suspect company indeed. I am more hurt by this than I realise. Do I really come across in such a way that Den has to do me down on a public forum for his own entertainment? Do my views and experiences really count for so little? Apparently this is indeed the case, because when I try to explain to hubby what has been happening, he comes back, as I expected he would, telling me that I do often express myself in an intense and haranguing manner. He didn't use those precise words, but I'm afraid I can't remember exactly what he said, and anyway that was certainly the gist. And it is by no means the first time he's brought me up short with this discouraging observation. The thing is that I didn't think I was talking like a schoolmistress when I was trying to explain myself to Leona. I had thought I was simply explaining to her so she wouldn't be so needlessly horrified. If hubby thinks I was haranguing her and I didn't realise it, I just wonder why I should ever bother to open my mouth and try to come across as a normal human being ever again. So I harangue hubby mightily about this, and he says he hates it when the relationship gets miserable. And so I harangue him a bit more in order to get through to him that by telling me it was all my fault, it's not the right approach. So he tries to justify himself by explaining that he thought he was being helpful by looking for an explanation as to why Den and Leona might have reacted this way. He apologises, and I accept his apology, but I am left with an immense, depressing sense of the impossibility of ever finding anybody I can actually relate to on this earth. I have spent my entire life trying to be neurotypical. At least I now know that that is what the problem is, but it is a problem with no solution. I am left out, on the edge of society, feeling something akin to what a sociopath must feel when they know something is lacking in them and they can't work out what it is. But I'd better not say that to Leona, ever, ever, ever. Ideas like that always come across in the wrong way.